You have to enable attendees to share their screen as well.
Do I need to enable you to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my god, so many people in the waiting room.
It's okay.
Okay, are you able to now?
Let's see. Yes. Okay. Okay, does it look around everyone's screen? You'll see it? Like the PowerPoint? Yeah, okay. So, okay. Welcome everyone to the KP General Board Spring Elections for 2020. So some like general guidelines and other basic stuff before we get into it. So the guidelines, like each candidate will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question. For positions with more than one candidate, they take turns in answering the question first. And then questions submitted on the Google form will be asked first, meaning like our Google form. And then I will ask the audience questions afterwards. And then for the voting process, voting opens tomorrow, May 12th, and will close Friday, May 15th. And the results will be announced Saturday, May 16th. The ballot will be posted on the KP Facebook page tomorrow as well. And the minutes and the Zoom recording will be posted on the Facebook page for review before voting. And then the vacant positions will be open for rolling basis. Okay, so we're gonna go in order of like the reverse of the KP Constitution. So it'll be, hold on. It should be Our Storian, Coco, MCM, and then Chair. So the Our Storian coordinates the documentation and archiving of the Our Story of KP by maintaining all records, including but not limited to photos, videos, and documents. The officer films and or takes pictures of KP events, including GBMs and retreats, and is responsible for providing access of said media to all board members and the community. If the Our Storian is unable to attend an event, they may appoint someone to record videos and take pictures in their place. The officer will also work with the marketing communications manager with the responsibility of updating and maintaining the KP Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, website, and Twitter. Archives of all media and documents are due by the following school year. This officer is required to head media-related committees of events such as Makasama, High School Conference, and Filipino Culture Celebration, but may appoint an external member to assist if necessary. This officer is also responsible for making board members fill out post-program report doc that is available in the KP Drive. The Our Storian coordinates the Our Story Gala with the Vice Chair, External, and Alumni Liaison. And this only applies to every 5th anniversary year. So our applicants for this position are Chelsea Ocampo and Toby Dizon. So we're gonna have each applicant introduce themselves, saying their name, year, and then their gender pronouns, and then we'll get into the Q&A.
Oh, okay. My name is Chelsea Ocampo, and I'm a first year, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi, I'm Toby Dizon. I'm a first year, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
All right, thank you. So it will be, I mentioned earlier that it will be rotating order of who answers first. So the first question will be Chelsea first, second it'll be Toby, and then so on and so forth. Do you both understand? Yes? Okay, cool. So the first question is, what is your understanding of KP's Our Story? How will you seek to find more information about our story?
Our historian means to me that I have that in this position I have an obligation to the community, to UCSD, to share our story as the Filipino community of UCSD. And could you repeat the question?
Yeah. What is your understanding of KP's Our Story, and how will you seek to find more information about our story?
To find more information about our story, I plan to immerse myself into the community and to look at past like KP media to see like how KP has evolved throughout the years.
Okay, thank you.
To me, our story means that we are proud of everything that has happened within our community, and not, that's kind of why it's called our story instead of history, because we should be proud of everything that we have community and that we will experience together. So to find more information about our story, definitely would be present at as many events as possible and try to create good relationships with a lot of the active members and even other board members to hear their personal experience within KP and how they have felt welcomed by the community, or how they felt KP has helped them out in creating their own personal story within the larger KPR story.
Thank you. What pillar of KP do you feel this position falls under, and why? And so Toby will answer first, and then Chelsea.
I think that the pillar that this position falls under the most would be empowerment, because although our story is mostly, the our historian's job is mostly to collect and archive data such as pictures, in my opinion, they can be more impactful than words, just because visuals tend to appeal to a different part of our brain and a different part of our senses. So it can be very empowering to see the success or the struggles that we have experienced together. It also helps us remember where we came from and where we want to go, and to be motivated to continue to do the work that we were doing.
Okay, thank you. Chelsea?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My
You're good. What pillar of KP do you feel this position falls under? Why?
I think this position falls under the pillar of empowerment as well, because through pictures and videos, we can show how unified and how much power our community has. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, how will you manage your time fulfilling your duties for your position while upholding your responsibilities as a board member and student?
To manage my time, I use a planner and I have a running list of to-do things, and I also keep a Google Calendar that shows what I need to do and when, and that's how I'll manage my time as a board member.
Thank you.
For me, I also rely heavily on Google Calendar, and I always have a running to-do list of things, and I prioritize them definitely based on deadline and importance. And like the Constitution said, if I'm not able to make a certain event, or for me, academics is very important to me, so I will try to ensure that I dedicate time equally to both things. But if I'm not able to make it, I know that I'll be able to depend on other board members or active members within KP to help me out in delegating my work, or just simply asking them if they can take a couple pictures while they're present at the event. And
KP has decided to title this position Our Historian as opposed to Historian.
this our story, and because like I said before, it's something that we should be proud of for what people of our community in the past also achieve in the future, even though we're not directly contributing to it. And it also represents the unified sense of unity that KP tries to promote and encourage within the space. So if we all are proud of the events that we put on and the changes that we're making in the greater community and the lives of people at UCSD, it's something that we should represent.
Okay, thank you.
I think our story is titled Our Story. It's inclusive because who identifies as a he, and our historian, the word our just refers to the community as a whole.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, as our historian, you will be working closely with the MCM to manage and maintain KP social media. How do you plan on effectively communicating with them in order to maintain this media?
In order to effectively communicate with the KP community, I would first go and see what platforms that most of KP's members are a part of. So like Facebook first and foremost, and then Instagram, maybe through email if some people don't have social media.
Okay, thank you. And then Toby?
To ensure that I effectively communicate with the marketing communications manager, I definitely would want to set up a personal meeting with them and just sit down and get to know them better as a person, because I think that's really important to establish a good relationship. And then also just ask them what they see as the vision of KP, what their main goals are for the year, or what platforms they really want to push and promote the community on, and maybe have a shared Google Calendar for events, and then see if there's any way I can help out with being present there, or with the editing or anything like that, posting, and yeah, just ensuring we exchange information as well, find out their best mode of contact, whether that be text or email.
Thank you. The next question is, what camera/digital programs do you use for taking photos and creating videos?
To edit photos, I use oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yes, you first, yes.
Me?
Or whoever, sorry,
What was that? I'm sorry.
whoever went first, yeah. What camera/digital programs do you use for taking photos and creating videos?
For creating photos, I like to use a mix of Lightroom, Photoshop, and if I'm on go, sometimes I use this app called Snapseed on my phone, and I also use what's it called? Sorry, Afterlight, and then for video, I use iMovie.
Okay, thank you.
For me, I also use Lightroom and Photoshop. I do have a Canon G7X, which is just like a simple camera that can record video and take pictures. It's kind of better quality for video, so I've used that before in the past, and also mostly just use my iPhone. I think I have my iPhone 10 or something, just because it's easy access, it's portable, and it has a decent camera. And I also use Snapseed. Sometimes I use VSCO, and then I use like Color Tone, or what's the other one that I use? Yeah, Color Tone, and then a Color Story are also other apps that I use frequently.
Okay, thank you. And then the final question is, or the next question is, besides taking photos/videos and editing them, what other duties/responsibilities do you see yourself performing as our historian?
As our historian, I feel that I have a broad range of things that I do, and I'm adaptable, flexible, and a quick learner. So like if I'm given a task or instructions, I'll be able to follow through with them. Like for example, last summer and the summer before that, I was an intern at this science camp for elementary students. And when I wasn't working with the children, I was working with other interns and my supervisor to complete other tasks. And I would prepare snacks, relay messages, take photos, write newsletters, move supplies, and just like whatever the community needed.
Okay, thank you.
Besides taking videos and photos and editing with them, I think one of my strengths is that I try to be a personable person. So even being part of general board, it would be good to be a positive presence within the KP space. So definitely trying to engage with other members and just get to know them on a personal level, besides just asking them to take pictures, because there's always a story behind a picture. So it would be nice to be able to speak about the people within the club. I do have experience being the marketing director of my sorority for this academic year. So for them, I've done a lot of things like Instagram takeovers where we can spotlight members within our sorority so that they get a chance to also be behind the camera or be the center of attention and see what their experience has been like within our sorority, and just offer help when I can. I know that marketing is a big job, so if they ever need to do anything, or any other general board position as well.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions they would like to ask the Our Story candidates? Okay, thank you. So we're gonna go into the next position Q&A, which is the co-cultural coordinator. The co-cultural coordinators will direct the organization of the annual Filipino Cultural Celebration, known as PCC. They will also organize and oversee the official cultural cabinet in collaboration with the OCC chair. They shall be in charge of appointing creative team and communicating with the director, scriptwriter, choreographer, stage manager, and kantahan director. They will also organize and oversee cultural performances, including but not limited to Magkasama, Martial Cultural Celebration, and overnight opening dinner. They assist the vice chair finance and or operations manager with fundraising efforts for PCC. The co-cultural coordinators are in charge of organizing cultural corners at GBMs and leading the class TDGE 198 Filipino performance and misrepresentation during winter quarter of the school year. These officers actively promote increased education and awareness of Filipino culture and history for the benefit of the UCSD population. And our applicants for this position are Melky Roballedo and Gabrielle Almazar. Unfortunately, Auding Gabby is not able to make it today, so we will have a makeup Q&A for her tomorrow, and that will also be shared. So for right now, it will just be Milky. So if you could introduce yourself, say your name, year, and your gender pronouns, and then we will go into asking you questions.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. My name is Melky Reboletto. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a first-year mechanical engineering student. Wait, is that all I needed to say?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. My bad.
Okay. So we're going to go into asking questions now. So the first question is, as Coco, you are in charge of facilitating a self-directed studies class known as TDGE 198. What is a topic of interest to you or something you want to implement in that class?
Ooh, okay. All right, I got two. All right. A topic I want to include is like the political representation of Filipinos in the U.S. Like what I learned during the internship meetings, like Filipinos are not properly represented in politics or in U.S. politics because of low voter turnouts and misunderstandings of American politics. And like, I just want to help people understand why this is, so that I could promote equal opportunity for not just Filipinos but also other minority groups. And another topic that I really want to focus on is just I want to delve into the history of Filipino culture. I know like some some of this knowledge is lost as more Filipinos assimilate into American culture, and and in light of the cultural dilution that happens because of assimilation, and just the general gaps that naturally pop up throughout time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is, PCC is valued highly in the KP space, and there seems to be a lot of expectation in the process of producing it. Do you have experience with leadership, organization, and planning? How do you plan to use these skills to meet your vision for PCC?
Okay. So in terms of leadership, like I've been very involved with like my church and its Filipino like youth ministry, and it's I guess it's kind of similar to like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, but like it's with like the incorporation of religious values, and I guess I've spent quite a lot of time in this club ever since I turned 10, so like approximately 9 years, and I've reached like the highest leadership status of the club, which required like the completion of an extensive leadership program and the managing of other like lower ranked, I guess, people or kids. And I also participated in the club as part of staff who like facilitated conversations on social growth and adolescent struggles. And um, I seek to use this type of leadership to help me manage PCC or as a COCO, and yeah, like the people skills that I learned from that church ministry, as well as the I guess the interactions with people will help me manage like the whole process in general, and the experiences that the leadership experiences that it'll taught me will prove to be very useful for PCC.
Okay, thank you.
All right, yeah, for sure.
Very good. The next question is, how will you ensure the awareness and preservation of cultural dance, music, and attire for PCC and outside of PCC?
Well, I know that there are a lot of cultural nuances in Philippine culture, or in any culture in general. So what I really want to focus on is the accurateness of the dances, music, and I guess the attire too portrayed in PCC. Like my top goal is to educate people on like the unique aspects and experiences of the Filipino culture, and I want to portray it as accurately as possible, so that there will be less misunderstandings and misrepresentation. I'll do my best to do research and gather information from other Filipinos I have connections with to do so. Like, especially me being part of a Filipino American church, I have access to a lot of, I guess, firsthand experiences from Filipinos that have immigrated to the U.S. And yeah, I'll just try to do my best to make everything as accurate as possible to preserve the Filipino culture and spread appreciation of it rather than appropriation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So the next question is, cultural dances are often gendered in like they're traditionally masculine or feminine. What will you do to help create an inclusive space where people are comfortable joining dances other than just saying, I'll make sure that everyone is able to do the dances that they want to?
Inclusion. So besides letting people participate in the dances that I guess they can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Cultural dances are often gendered, traditionally masculine or feminine.
Mhm.
What will you do to help create an inclusive space where people are comfortable joining dances other than just saying, I'll make sure that everyone is able to do the dances that they want to?
Oh, all right, cool. Well, I'm gonna make sure that anything conveyed by like the dances like will not affect, I guess, the inclusivity of like the environment, I guess. So like, I will try to ensure, or I will try to like make sure that people understand that just because the dance was traditionally like was supposed to be performed by this like group of people, I will make sure that like it is clear that it is okay to include everybody and try to be inclusive as possible. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll just I'll try my best to give off that you know, those inclusive vibes and uphold the brave space and all that.
Thank you. The next question is, the relatively high CAS fees discourage people from participating in PCC. How will you address and help people with financial issues?
So I'll be like really super focused on fundraisers, to be honest. I was gonna take advantage of the large platform I have at church. Actually, I go to a Filipino American church, and I know almost all the members of it because I've been part of it for a big portion of my life. Like all the aunties and uncles at the church are very supportive of me, and I'm sure I will have no problem, or I'm sure they will have no problem supporting me as Coco. And so, like, I will take advantage of this platform and actually try to gain support and financial resources. Um, I'll try my best to, or another plan I have in mind is to leverage the interns to help organize fundraisers, like similar to what I did as an intern for this year's PCC, like such as like the food fundraisers, like the pie in the face type stuff, the Jollibee, like food is the key to the heart. And so like I'll try my best to fundraise as much as possible to help reduce these CAS fees, because I know that not everybody will be able to, I guess it'll be difficult for people to scrape up money for that, because I know it's a big commitment.
All right, thank you. The next question is, what is TAP? What is your understanding of TAP, and why is TAP important? Aside from fundraisers, GoFundMe, and sponsorships, what other ways of funding do you have in mind? What experience do you have with budgeting?
Okay, so like I guess TAP stands for Triad Activities Planner. It's used to plan understanding a TAP. That's, and I know that I'm at least 21 days before the event, no sooner. And there's a TAP checklist to help review like necessary guidelines and prepare the event before actually submitting it. And for your second part of the question, how do I like raise money? Like how do I plan to raise money? Like I said earlier, I plan to leverage like my Filipino American church and just gather support from all the aunties, uncles, all my friends, and all the other people that appreciate Filipino culture and appreciate being Filipino. And I also plan to leverage the internship or the interns, because I feel it's a very big resource, a helping resource. Yeah, that's basically it.
All right, thank you. In a hypothetical situation, there are members of a component of PCC who are not regularly attending practices or just in general not participating in their component's practice. How would you respond to the situation?
In my opinion, I think communication is key. I could personally reach out to them and like ask them if they want to continue working for PC or contributing to PCC. I just want to ensure like that full set mindset that people are committed and devoted to PCC, much like I am, because like ultimately like PCC is a group effort, and if people aren't putting in their effort, like then like I would have no choice but to like let them know, like inform them. And so yeah, I believe like communication is key here, and now I would reach out to them personally if anything's going wrong.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any other additional questions they would like to ask Rotting Milky? Feel free to say it. Okay, thank you. So now we will go in the communications manager. This officer works directly with the vice chair external in publicizing events. Oh, sorry, to outside college organizations. This officer co-coordinates Makasama with the vice chair external. This officer, along with vice chair external, are an official liaison to FCC. These duties include, but are not limited to, FCC retreat, preview night, and social events. This officer handles press release materials. This officer oversees the creation and development of print and online advertising, email marketing, website management, and content development. This officer will also assume the responsibilities of all internet operations, such as, but not limited to, updating and maintaining the official KP email, weekly newsletter, text messaging service, website, and social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This officer must enforce the graphics request form, in which board members must notify the MCM of any graphic needs no less than 2 weeks prior to their events. This officer will work closely with our historian to maintain KP's official projects they choose to work on together. They should be able to follow the graphic standards that are installed in order to maintain the professionalism and aesthetic of the organization. And the applicants that we have today are Camille Gagan and Alexia Perry. So if you could introduce yourself, say your name, your year, and your gender pronouns, and then we'll go into the questions.
I'm Camille. I'm a first year, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
I'm Alexia. I'm a first year, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna try to rotate whoever answers first. So first person for the first question will be Camille, and then Alexia for the second, and then Camille again, and so on and so forth. So for the first question, what are the 5 KP pillars? Where does your position fall under? How would you involve your work in all 5 pillars?
So the 5 KP pillars is going to be the social, political, academic, cultural, and empowerment. And I think what my position would fall under primarily social, just because it's a matter of reaching out to all of the members of the organization and making sure that to have a greater reach to other people to join and to have a greater influence under all pillars. And can you repeat the second part of the question?
Yeah. How would you involve your work in all 5 pillars?
Okay, so to involve all the work for all 5 pillars, I think that especially with quarantine right now and everyone being on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I think that, and like for maybe like the remainder of the year, I think that it's important to have a very prominent social media presence just so that everyone can stay connected with the organization and all the pillars be able to spread their information. And I know other organizations, I've seen other organizations do like weekly reports on social media, just have their members just continue to spread information weekly about each pillar. So like socially, like academically, maybe like tips and everything about academics in quarantine. Political, I know that I've seen political reports from other organizations, just updating the community about everything that's going on, especially with, I know, especially things going on back in the Philippines with the media and everything, and especially for the cultural pillar as well, and the empowerment pillar, just continuing to maintain a very prominent social media presence.
So the 5 pillars are the social, political, academic, cultural, and empowerment. And I also agree that the MCM falls more under social because we are trying to create an outreach to other organizations as well as other people in general, just to create a connection between Filipinos and just everybody in the Filipino community in San Diego. And I also believe it does fall underneath all the pillars, just because we are given the media outlets to highlight the each aspects of each pillar, as well as like give equal access so that they have the ability to grow and just inform the general public about each of the pillars and roles in society. And like she said, political, I know how everything in the Philippines is happening back then, and given this outlet, I feel it's I feel that it is important that we do inform what's happening in the Philippines, since it's not given any media coverage over like the main news within the US at all, and it's not actively publicized everywhere, like everything else is in the US. Academic, I also agree that we can give tips on how to like stay focused within your classes, because I personally find it really hard to, and just give I think it also gives an outlet for those that are stuck at home and maybe don't have the best position given the school at home. It gives them an outlet to reach out to and feel as if they're not so distant from everybody else.
Okay, thank you. As MCM, one of your main responsibilities is to design graphics and maintain KP social media. What is your experience with Photoshop, Canva, coding, social media marketing, etc.? So I'd like to answer first, and then Camille.
So in regards to just Photoshop, and yeah, so Photoshop I used throughout high school because I was in AP Photo, and we used it for many of our assignments, and that actually helped me like get a better grade in the AP exam at the end of the year. And also, I used Photoshop last quarter with my master college degree, which is basically just a class that taught us how to edit using Photoshop for graphic design, as well as HTML coding and CSS coding. And our final assignment actually incorporated having to design our own website and just incorporate all these different requirements that were needed. And I feel like that's relevant to how it would have to be for KP. Like if we're just given a requirement from the other officers on what needs to be displayed on a website, that using this information, I can incorporate it as well. And then what was the other part of the question?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was literally just what was your experience with like Photoshop, Canva, coding?
And then social media marketing, I was a part of, I was a board member of one of our clubs in high school for Interact Club, and weekly we would have to all put together the slides for each meeting, as well as create Facebook posts and Instagram posts to advertise for different volunteering events, as well as just different events to keep our close-knit community of our club.
Okay, thank you.
For experience in high school, I was part of my ASB publicity. So basically what we did was we made not only digital flyers to advertise like any school events and weeks and assemblies, also not only like digital in hand. And I've had experience using Photoshop through computer art class that I took in high school. I'm not really experienced like in coding or anything, but as for social media marketing, my brother is a DJ, and a lot of the time he has me helping him out with creating flyers and making sure to post them in different social media outlets so that he could gain more guests to attend his shows. Yeah.
The next question is, besides our current marketing initiatives of social media, newsletters, and a website, how do you hope to better inform the KP community as well as outside communities about our efforts done for all pillars?
So the question was besides social media and...
Yeah, besides social media, newsletters, on the website, how do you hope to better inform the KP community as well as outside communities about our efforts done for all pillars?
So for that, besides social media, I think it's also important to communicate with the members physically themselves. So maybe reach out to like a bunch of members of the community, and being able to share reach out so that to gain and other people help them reach out to join more and be more active. And I'm not really sure, like, especially with like the situation going on, like with like the quarantine and everything, like I'm not really sure like how else be able to like reach out like personally, but except mainly like primarily through social media and the website and like Facebook and everything.
Um, yeah, I agree with like the given situation. There's not much other than like social media to remain in contact with everybody. But if we're still in person for college right now, I feel like just what's it called? What's the word? Like hanging flyers and handing out different like cards to people, like say on library walk, or just posting them in places where people are more likely to see them, so such as like in the library or PC or wherever it's more likely to be visible. And I also feel like just maintaining personal connections with other Filipino organizations and even Asian American organizations within San Diego. Personally, I try to keep in contact with the Tanambak Association, which is an association that my family is a part of. And otherwise, yeah, I'm not really sure what else we would be able to do given the situation.
The next question is, KP has ties with FCC and SCPASA. What is your understanding of these two organizations and how will you ensure better connections?
So I know FCC is the Filipino Collegiate Collaborative, and it's basically just organization to keep ties with the Filipino collegiate organizations within San Diego, such as AB Samahan, and just the other Filipino clubs within the respective colleges, like CSU San Marcos and Southwestern and all of those. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
How will you ensure better connections?
Ensuring better connections by just obviously just maintaining a friendship with the board members that we meet up with, as well as I believe important thing is to hold crossover events between our club and like other college clubs, such as a crossover and like a karaoke night with AB Samahan and stuff like that, because I feel that connecting the Filipino community at SDSU or CSU San Marcos or all these other colleges, I feel like it's important that we stay together as a tight-knit community, in comparison to just remaining distant from one another just because of the college differences.
Thank you.
Yeah, the FCC is basically like all the Filipino organizations in San Diego, like State, San Marcos, and all that. And then the SCPASA would be basically all of Southern California, all the Filipino organizations for that. And to maintain good communications, I just think that it's like better to just make sure to develop good like networking and communication with like the other board members, making sure you have like good communications and like planning, like she said, planning like things together so that we'll have more help with each other, and just so that we can be all more unified and have a better, tight, close-knit networking and a more inclusive and unified Filipino space for everyone.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, as MCM, you're in charge of co-planning Magkasama with the VC external. What is your understanding of Magkasama and what is your vision for it?
I know we didn't have Magkasama this year, but what my understanding of it, it's kind of like a culture night, like a talent show where it showcases a bunch of different Filipino talent, and almost anyone can like apply to perform and do like any like type of performance. And as for my vision for it, I just think that it should be all inclusive. So like not only showcase like like showcase Filipino like culture as well as you know, modern and like anything, and include all different types of aspects of Filipino culture, and it shouldn't be limited to like Filipinos themselves, but like to anyone in the community that wants to showcase their talent.
Yeah, like she said, Marcosama is the talent showcase that's held each year to showcase different talents that people in our KP community as well as the Filipino community want to showcase. And I think it's important that we have this show, first of all, just because many not given the opportunity to showcase their own talents, or maybe they don't have the courage. And I feel like having a talent show where everybody is just encouraging one another of their talents will just really empower each person individually and make them feel as if more they belong. And my vision would include just like incorporating different Filipino cultural acts, such as maybe like tinikling and stuff like that, or well, just allowing everybody to showcase their talent as they wish, and maybe even having like food vendors, like that, because there's many Filipino food restaurants and stuff like that within the San Diego community, and I feel like if we have a vendor, it would make people more aware of our cultural and more traditional foods as opposed to just like lumpia and pancit that everybody knows.
Okay, thank you. As MCM, you're a promoter of all events in KP. How will you reach out to members that aren't as active and don't come out to all the events?
So for people that aren't as active, I would find ways to more directly communicate with them, maybe find out like different people who know them and just ask how they are, just to see like how they're doing in general, because I know some people aren't active not due to just out of wanting not to be active, but because of personal situations. And I feel that it's important to reach out to them to make sure that they do still have a place within the KP community despite not being there, and that it just makes them well known that people are still looking out for them, and that the position in the club is noticed and they're not overlooked. And otherwise, once I figure out like why they choose not to be active, if it's for personal reasons, then yeah, but if they just choose not to because they don't feel like they belong within the community, I would ask like why they feel this way, and you could use that to improve our board and just the KP community overall.
I think to reach out more to the members that are not as active in KP, like I said, it's just maintaining, like besides having like personal connections, it's definitely maintaining a prominent social media presence, like looking at the outlets where more of the members are active, like Facebook, making sure to post more about it, reaching out. Especially Instagram too. A lot of the members are on Instagram and Twitter. Just making sure like you're spreading the information through all outlets so that they can see it, and like making sure it appeals to them through like the aesthetic and like the professionalism, making sure that it convinces them more to attend, and making sure it looks like fun and inviting and welcoming for them to join more. And I think showing that through like the types of posts that we make, the aesthetic, it'll really help reach out to them and convince them more to be more active and attend more of the events that we host.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, KP board can be a lot of work. How would you find a balance between board and your other responsibilities?
The way that I manage my time is like through a planner. I'm very organized, so I make sure that like I prioritize like academics and everything, and board as well, and make sure to be able like to make sure to be able to fulfill my commitments through prioritizing, and a lot of time management as well. I've learned a lot of time management through having a job and school and everything, and I've really learned how to know what to take on for myself and what I won't be able to do. So with that, it's a lot of prioritize and knowing what I can handle and just scheduling everything out, making sure that I get everything done.
Personally, for time management, I like to plan out my weeks, and I write like a time schedule from like literally the morning till night, and I try to write out what I need to do and how much time each task will take, just so that I can optimize my time for each of them. And I personally learned a lot of time management skills just throughout like high school and college in general, because being a commuter, I have to like plan ahead of time to driving to school, which is an extra hour. I had to plan time an extra hour after, and just like I also work off campus, so then I have to plan how long it takes to get from the bus back to my car and just stuff like that. And throughout high school, I took on many different commitments, and I learned how to balance it out, such as at one point I was playing a sport in school and two sports outside of school, and I had to balance like time management for how I get to each practice, and informing the coaches of when I'm going to be late, when I'm not going to be able to be there, and practicing just communicating with everybody else on my position, just so that I can, so that things can happen accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any other additional questions they would like to ask the potential MCMs? Okay, so unfortunately, the applicant for social awareness coordinator could not make it today, so we will move on to chair. And so the chair of KP is responsible for all officers and their events. This duty includes, but is not limited to, regularly checking the archive, enforcing event deadlines, delegating responsibilities, and rendering aid when necessary. The chair presides over all officer meetings. This officer officially represents KP to the UCSD community and the San Diego community. With the vice chairs, this officer enforces officer accountability. This officer coordinates spring and fall elections. This officer will serve as a member of the Spaces Board of Directors and Campus Climate Council. Along with the vice chairs, the chair also promotes student leadership development by means, including but not limited to, facilitating activities and workshops. This officer prepares all board meetings and agendas with the vice chairs. This officer will work in collaboration throughout the school year with KP Star coordinator and KP Core coordinator. The chair and vice chairs plan retreats, including but not limited to an officer fall retreat, a spring transition retreat, and one all board retreat, along with the KP Star and KP Core coordinator. The chair will oversee the internship program along with the internship coordinator. Prerequisite for the position is that this officer must have served on KP main board at least 1 year in order to apply for this position. And so our applicant for this position is Earl Gomez. So Earl, if you would like to introduce yourself, say your name, your year, and then your gender pronouns.
My name's Earl Gomez. I'm a third year, and my gender pronouns are he, him, his.
Okay, thank you. Virgil, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, let's do this. What do you believe it means to Layla? Sorry. What does it mean to represent KP as an organization of SAC? What is a relevant example of leadership you've extended to others in order to support your position as a liaison to other SAC orgs?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Can you repeat the question?
Sorry. What do you believe it means to represent KP as an organization of SAC? What is a relevant example of allyship you've extended to others in order to support your position as a liaison to other SAC orgs?
My understanding of KP as and its relationship with SAC orgs is just being another facet of representation on campus. And I don't really have an exact example of me personally reaching out to other SAC orgs and showing allyship, but like things I've done to show, I've like shown allyship with the LGBTQ community before. Um, uh, yeah, that's all I have for the question.
How has your previous board experience prepared you for chair?
My previous board experience, I've seen what's important and what's needed for a board to function cohesively. Things like communication and transparency need to be what's the word? Need to be especially focused on. And as the ops manager slash finance manager for board 32, I was able to have a good understanding of working with every pillar and all the other execs as well.
A new program that was started 2 years ago and revamped this year is the internship program. As chair, you are in charge of overseeing the program and co-coordinating the program with the internship coordinator. What goals, if any, do you have to expand and promote this program to continue to retain leaders?
Due to the current COVID pandemic that's ongoing, I think like the main goal for any KP program, not including internship, is just retention. So for us, the things that have been implemented with internship this year, I would like to try and work with the internship director to see how we can move things to online meetings, because due to the pandemic, we don't know if people are going to be physically in San Diego. So seeing how much we can do to move things online is a major goal for me.
What is your vision for KP next school year? And how do you plan to work to achieve that vision?
I think this answer is going to be similar to my previous question or answer, that I would work with the other officers to try and do our best to incorporate transitions to normal KP programs, moving them online. So obviously things like friendship games and stuff won't happen, but I believe like we can do an online Makasama, we can do online PAD, PA week, things like that.
Unlike other positions, chair does not have an event that they are in charge of planning, i.e. PCC, formals, etc. Instead of programming, what do you think the chair's other duties are?
I think the most important duty for the chair is making sure things run smoothly within the board, listening and trying their best to accommodate the concerns of every other board member, and like navigating the general board to work towards the towards the values written in the KP Constitution.
As chair, many board members will look to you for guidance and support. How will you support your fellow board members while maintaining your own responsibilities?
I'm doing my best to assist them in any duties they have, answering questions, and doing my best to accommodate them. For example, if they find that they need to take a step back from some board duties, I can try to make it where me and the other board members can pick up the slack so they can focus on whatever they need to focus on, be it academics or personal life.
What does the ideal board space look like to you, and how will you work with your fellow execs to facilitate that?
My ideal board space looks like I'd like to have some execs, but to facilitate that, I think other than having no execs, I think like communication and transparency are important. So I was thinking of implementing specific lines of communication, so no one that keeps like a certain system that keeps everyone in the loop, delegating information upwards. So as the chair, I'll have access to all the needs of every board members, and so some things won't get lost. And there will be a digital tracking of messages and requests, stuff like that.
What is your opinion? Oh, wait. Is this supposed to be worded like, oh, what in your opinion is the least represented pillar of KP? And what plans do you have?
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. What in your opinion is the least represented pillar of KP, and what plans do you have to uplift this pillar and its programs?
In my opinion, I think the least represented KP pillar would probably be empowerment. It's taken a backseat to things like, excuse me, to things like really big things like the PCC and the STAR program. So just building more awareness through promotion of things like PAD, or PAW Week, through just more visibility, I guess, because it's not as big as the other events. So encouraging more people to participate would be a good step in that direction.
With no current execs running and other vacant board positions, how will you balance out duties and responsibilities?
Probably the first step would be to cut some KP programs. I don't think if those positions are unfilled, I don't think it's fair for the people, for other board members to take on more work, do the work of others, or do the job of others when that position is unfilled. So reducing the programs, because due to lack of resources and manpower, would definitely help the quality of the programs we put on due to our already small number of applicants.
As chair, you are a leader among leaders. How will you facilitate growth and leadership within the KP board space?
Yes.
I think leading by example, doing my duties as chair, and mentoring the board members on anything they want. Just like being an example, I feel like my previous experience on board has given me the ins and outs of the dynamics between board members, and my this last year I spent as a PC has given me the necessary tools to help facilitate growth. So I think using what I've learned the past 2 years to help serve as like a mentor or a guide to anyone willing, and also by leading by example, will help show what good leadership is.
All right, and that was the last question in the doc. Does anyone in the call have any questions for Earl?
Okay, so with that concludes this Q&A session. Thank you for everyone that participated. We will be having makeup Q&A sessions for the applicants that were not able to make it tonight. The Zoom link and other information for them will be posted hopefully tomorrow. And so hopefully the bout will also be released tomorrow. But yeah, with that, that concludes the Q&A. Thank you everyone for participating. Have a good night. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
I'll
you.
stop recording now.